A lot of us don't feel whole and complete because we had to cut off parts of ourselves when we were very young. And we just split off from certain emotions. Certain emotions when you were younger were acceptable and others were not acceptable. As a child, you need a positive mirroring face to survive. We instinctively know this. And if we have an emotion that triggers a response that gives us a mirroring face of disapproval and disappointment, we are going to learn really quick not to have that emotion anymore. And we split off from that emotion and we're no longer whole. It's a survival instinct where we know we need to please our source figures in order to survive. So we don't want to do anything to upset them. And this is very young, very early in life, before you can logically understand any of this. So a big emotion that most people are not allowed to have is anger. If you don't have your anger, you don't have your protection. So take your anger and you're going to split it off and put it away and never access it again because it didn't serve you for your needs that you needed to be met as a child. As an adult, not having your anger, not having your protection, what happens? You become a people pleaser and you have no boundaries because it's so scary and frightening to access those feelings that our body remembers were rejected. So we overstep in the nice people-pleasing way not to cause any anger within us. Because every time we expressed anger, there was a loss and it's a fear. But you have every right to every emotion that goes through your body, but we've cut it off. And a big part of recovery is reclaiming those emotions that were cut off. If you don't have anger, if you're not allowed to have jealousy, if you're not allowed to have sadness, anytime you feel any emotion that was cut off, you're going to feel shamed and self-hatred, and you're going to beat yourself up for feeling it because you know what it caused you when you were younger, and somehow our body still remembers that. So figure out which emotions you were allowed to have, which emotions you weren't allowed to have, and start to access the ones that you weren't allowed to have. You have to learn how to feel and integrate those emotions back into your being. You cannot realistically go through life without getting pissed off. It is impossible. But what happens when you get angry? What do? How do you react? Do you withdraw? Do you just let it go? Do you just fume about it and never express it and put more emotions down inside of you that can't come out? There's a healthy way to tap and express anger. But when you've never allowed yourself to feel it, all you're going to do is fear it. Any emotion you cut off, you're afraid of. And when you're afraid of your own feelings, life is difficult. You have to figure out a way to live and put yourself in only situations where you're not going to be triggered in anger. And that limits your life and it gets smaller and smaller over time. You are allowed to have anger, even though you were taught that you're not. So accessing it, feeling it, and learning how to express it in a healthy way is absolutely vital to recovery. You have to integrate not only the acceptable emotions, but the emotions that were not acceptable. All right, hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.